back in the day, I think it was about 2023, you and I recorded a podcast for Seat Time, and you told me something then in that podcast, and it stuck with me for a long time. You can't make it happen. You have to let it happen. And I really wanted you to kind of resurface that for us and explain what you meant at the time.
Uh, it's funny you remember that. It's something I definitely believe in 100%. And I think where I what I'm saying with that is if you always try to force it, even though it's not really working out. Like, for example, you're at a track that maybe is not your favorite track. This is just a moto analogy, but if you're at a track that's not your favorite track, maybe it's hard slick and you're not good at hard slick, but you try so hard because you're trying to make it happen that you end up on your head. And it's happened to all of us, right? So that's making it happen. Well, sometimes you got to let it happen. And in that case, maybe it would have been better to, um, relax a little bit, see if I can figure out what what the other guys are doing. How are they going so fast in it without me over trying and then crashing my brains out? Even if that day I took a second or a third or a fourth, that would have been better than a 17th because I tried too hard to make it happen. So a lot of times you have to kind of let it happen, go with the flow. And I'm not saying not to try, or not to, give it your all, but sometimes we can outdo ourselves by just trying to make it happen and force it.
The two things there. How does one start to even try to become aware that they are potentially working towards that, right? Because that's one hard part of this, is not even realizing that you're in the position that you're trying to force it. And I think the other side of that, to me, that is the ego, right? When we start getting into that forcing it situation, that's because we believe we should be somewhere that we're not. And when we start to try to force that, that's our ego trying to catch up or trying to force a thing that we're like, I should be here and I am here and I'm pissed off, or whatever the emotion is. And so we're trying to, as you said, make it happen.
Yeah, so and then that's actually the one of the trickiest parts, because one of the worst feelings ever is, say you go to the race and you don't even have to tell yourself that you should win, you just know that you should win, right? Like, you know that the competition there is, I'm better than they are, like I should win. And sometimes that's the worst because you're not present. You're not ready. You're not, those butterflies you get when you go to the line. I live for that now. I want that because that means something's about to happen and it's almost showtime. All right. So if I'm not nervous, I'm probably not ready. I'm probably not present enough to get 100% out of myself. Going back to what I was saying, if I go to a race and it's like, okay, I should win this. So I'm not totally present, maybe. And then I go out there and I'm not winning. And I try harder and I'm still not winning. So, like, just for whatever reason, I'm not as good as I thought I was that day. So where I believed I should be is not where I actually was that day. That's a tough pill to swallow because you're not ready for that failure. Or definitely can be not ready for that failure. Like, I should beat those guys. Why am I not beating those guys? And that's when you can either try to figure it out and maybe try a little harder. I'm not saying to over try and crash your brains out, but if what you're doing is not working, try something else, right? Maybe what you're doing is, it's not a question of try the same thing but try harder. Maybe I need to try something else. Maybe that hard slick track that I'm not comfortable on or whatever, maybe instead of trying harder, maybe I break earlier and carry more momentum. Or maybe I just try to be smoother. Maybe I use more outside lines. That's where you have to. I read a book one time, and one of my favorite parts of it was, instead of getting angry, get curious. Okay, so instead of getting angry that I'm not winning, I want to be curious of why I'm not winning. And the outcome that I get from that reaction is going to be better if I'm curious, because I'll be open to, like, huh, okay, well, maybe I'll try this. Now I get, like, mid race, that's hard to do, but If I'm if I get angry, I'm either gonna do one of 2 things. I'm gonna shut down. I'm gonna just fall off a cliff because I know that, like, I should be there, but I'm not there. Or I'm gonna be so angry that I just hold it wide open and I crash my brains out again. If I'm just curious about it, now I'll open way more possibilities to myself, like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe they're taking more outside lines, so I'll try that." Well, that didn't work. Maybe, and you kind of run through those things. Break earlier, be a little bit smoother, look further ahead. All the different things that we know make us better, but that we don't think about during the race. That's the time to think about it because what you're doing is not working. So let's get curious about it and try some things and try to figure it out.
I learned over this year of racing the National Enduro Series how to do some of the things that you're talking about, but it took a lot of intentionality and practice to get to a point to where I started to feel those moments in the moment, right? Where I could realize that, wow, that really scared me. What am I doing? Oh, I'm overriding. Okay, back it back down. Find that comfort mode. Okay, attack again. Find that 5% more. Find that 5% more, right? And then all of a sudden you're back into that flow and you were able to pull the mental tear off. But if I'm going to try to teach somebody or coach somebody how to find these things, like, how do I do that, right? How do we back it up to the point now that we can start to help racers or riders, right? Because this could work in all regards, to start to notice these things, maybe not even on race days. So they can start to try to do some of the things that you mentioned, that it's like, okay, I'm not pulling the lap times I thought I would be pulling while out on moto practice. So instead of getting angry, get curious. Like, how can they start to think differently and try to apply those things maybe during non-race days to then be able to translate them to actual race days?
Yeah. So, I think there's a couple different answers to your multi-layered question. Um,
I am here for all of
yeah,
them.
okay, all right, sounds good. I would say number 1, is to treat if this is something that you're serious about, that you want to learn to get better, obviously, most of us go or most people go to the practice track to have fun. And they go there and they ride, 2.5 fast laps, and then they look around a little bit and see where their buddy is, and they throw a whip, and then they do another 3/4 of a lap fast, and then they you know what I mean? It's not intentional. It's not you didn't go there to, accomplish anything except for have fun, and that's awesome. Honestly, like
Yeah, that's a valid point. Like, we're talking about some very nuanced kind of things. Like, dirt bike should still always still be fun.
and that's the number one thing we should do it for, always, is for the fun factor, but that same, mindset of what I said of get curious. When if I say I go to a race on this weekend and I didn't do well, if I'm if I care and I'm curious about it, I'm gonna think about that all the whole drive home, and I'm gonna think about it that next morning when I wake up. I'm gonna think about it until I go to the practice track again, and then I'm gonna try to figure out how do I get better at this, this, and this, because this is where I got beat last time. So when you go to the practice track, it's got to be intentional, and you almost have to treat it like a job, like you when you show up and you sign up the intention is in your head, in your heart, that today I'm gonna ride 7 straight laps without letting off or, without slowing down. I'm not gonna look around. I'm gonna treat this like a race. I'm gonna focus on myself and ride as fast as I can. Or maybe it's not ride as fast as you can. A lot of times it's I wanna try to be smooth, no mistakes, momentum, all those things I talked about. But then really analyze what happened. So I did my 7 straight laps. You know what? On that 5th lap, I started to feel myself, my mind to wander a little bit. I need to tighten that up. So this next session I go out, like, I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna be curious about it. I'm gonna try to figure out what can I do to kinda keep my mind focused in. Honestly, one of the coolest things, that I ever learned, and I had honestly already kinda knew it, but working with Steve Hatch, he's like, "Well, the best way that I did to stay focused was went faster, because now I have to be focused, right? If I
I remember when he told me that, I was like, I'm scared now.
Yeah,
I'm very
well,
scared.
but
Excuse me while I slide in here really quick.
I wanted to tell you about Cook Consulting Firm. They're a claim consultant and a licensed public adjuster. That means that they're on your side, not the insurance companies. When a UPS driver backed into my house, they wanted to give me just enough money to get the house painted. When Mark Cook came in, he got me 300% more money because he handled the communication with the insurance company. If you're wondering if your insurance company is on your side, make sure that you give Cook Consulting Firm a call and let them handle the communication for you. Their link will be in the description. And now, back to the show.
Like, there I love the feeling of being right on the edge, like, right there where like, I mean, it could happen. You could crash at any time, and like some bad things could happen. But that's what gets me going, dude. Like, I want to, I want to live on that edge. Like, that's fun because I know I'm so present at that point. Like, there's nothing else I can think about except hitting that rut. Because if I don't hit that rut, it's gonna be bad news. Like, I might go over the hill, or I might hit a tree, or whatever. I just love that. That's fun, but so back to my point is making your practice intentional, really analyzing it and trying to improve on maybe what you weren't as good at the weekend before.
Do you have a process towards improvement? And a framework that I heard was awareness, acceptance, action. So again, kind of going back to it's like if you don't even notice that you're doing the thing, you can't fix the thing. So it's just kind of this concept of like, okay, I've become aware. I got curious. I was not holding it on in the fifth lap like you mentioned. So what's okay? Can I accept that? What do I think I was doing? Okay, I think I was doing this. The action. I'm gonna go try to do the thing. That's kind of like the framework that I like to think about things as I go through stuff. But I was wondering, and I was curious to that point, like, is there kind of a framework or way that you like to approach? I guess a weakness we could call it, the thing that we might be working on in the moment.
Um, I think it's for me, it's always like um I like competition, like we all do. Like I want to be better than you are at whatever we're doing. I just want to be better than you, right? Um, So if I'm not as good as what I wanna be, if I'm not better than you, if you beat me this weekend, well, then I wanna beat you next weekend. So I'm gonna go home and just work on that. If I obviously, when you're race riding, practicing, whatever, you still gotta do the motos and you still gotta do, the sprints or whatever. But maybe, just for example, my problem last week, why you beat me last week was my aggression on lap 1, 2, and 3 was not where it needed to be. You pulled away, and by the time I got going, I couldn't see you anymore.
Damn right I did.
Yeah, I couldn't see you anymore. Brian was so far ahead at that point that I couldn't see him, and then I couldn't catch him. Okay, so all week, you know what I'm doing? I'm doing sprints. And I'm doing 1 lap, 2 lap, probably no more than 3 lap sprints. Just because it's all out intensity. And every time I do that sprint, I'm gonna think about you beating me. And I'm gonna get so mad that I'm gonna put myself in that spot. I'm gonna put you right beside me. Just think about if we're racing moto. I'm gonna put you right beside me in my head. I'm gonna think about it. And this is a little bit crazy, but I'll look over and see you. And I'll look up and I'll see the 30-second girl. And I'll see the concession stand over there and, my dad over here. And I'll put myself in that position.
True visualization of the
And
moment.
then I'm gonna pull the whole shot on you and you're not even gonna touch me because I'm leaving you. I'm pulling away in that one lap. And then I'll do it again and again and again. And then the next weekend, look out because I think I got something for you.
Okay, so and I love all of that, and I know that regardless, guys, this is a fake scenario, and definitely there's no chance. Like I would be in the other class than Ryan Sipes would be. Um, just because we like history's fun to talk about, can you remember or relate to us any of the times that you can look back on and know that you were trying to make it happen and that you kind of like that was a learning moment? Maybe not even a learning moment in the time, but now that you look back on your career, that you know that you were kind of looking at things or acting on things incorrectly in the moment?
Yeah. Honestly, man, my first probably 5 years racing, I tried to make it happen way too often. Um, and that's what is funny. Obviously, we all wish that we knew than what we know now, right? Like, we would be so much better. We would have done things different, whatever. But back then, if Brian Pierce went faster than me, whether I had any business going that fast or not, I just went that fast, right? So like if you went faster than me, well then I'll just gonna go that fast. Well, I would crash a lot and I got hurt a lot. Broke lots of bones, missed a lot of races because I wasn't, I think, mature enough and smart enough to go, "Hey, you know what? Maybe right here in this moment in this section of this track, I shouldn't push it. Maybe I should just ride normal pace here and then push it on the next one." That's what I got better at as I got older. When I came back and raced Supercross again at 37, 36, 37 years old, I was still qualifying in the top 5. And that was 10 years after I was, you know what I mean? Like it was way later, and I definitely didn't take the chances that I took back then, but I was still almost as fast. So, but I knew then and I've been working on this with some of the videos that I've been doing, but like knowing the sections of where I can push it without that amount of risk, I think is huge. Like, and especially with, like I said, not crashing, not getting hurt, knowing that I can push it right here, and if I crash, it's not a big deal, and I have less likelihood of crashing right here. Um, but when I was younger, I was pushing so hard in the spots that I shouldn't, that I wasn't on the gas where in those spots where it really made sense to be aggressive and there was no risk. Does that make any sense? Like I didn't analyze the track well enough to go, you know what, right there, there, and there, I'm gonna chill. And the rest of it, I'm gonna pin it. Like I'm gonna be super aggressive. I would try to pin it everywhere, and then I didn't put the track together like I should have.
I think one of the ways that you're saying it definitely feels like an internal pressure and I think we all do that, right? We feel that we're not, let's just say it, we're not going fast enough in this section because that's where he pulled away. So next time I come around, I'm just going to hold it wide open more, whatever that is, right? But I wonder, what about external pressure too? Like, I don't know how your dad was in that regard, but we do hear a lot about mini dads and that kind of thing. And I could see also, maybe if we go to the younger racer aspect of this, where a 8 to 12-year-old is coming around a turn and his dad sees the racer in front of him pulling him. And then when the next time the kid comes in, he goes, dude, when you come around that turn, you just got to hold it open. Like that's where he's pulling away from you. And then again, there's, there is no awareness at that point to think, but that's actually the place that I'm the weakest rider. So it's probably the most dangerous spot for me to go do that in this scenario we're discussing, though it should maybe be the thing I go work on. Like, how do we potentially start to square that circle a little bit to maybe help those younger races, help some of those dads that are out there, all the mini parents that are kind of maybe putting this mindset of make it happen on kids that, aren't ready for it?
Okay, so question for you. If you were little Johnny and you weren't going as fast in that one section as the other rider, first question is, were you going as fast as you think you could? Like, did you feel like you were on the edge? Did you feel like that was almost too fast? If that is so, then why was that? Because obviously other people can go way faster than you did in that one section and they didn't crash. They didn't feel like they were on the edge. So what's the difference? Are you looking down at your front fender? Because looking down at your front fender makes you feel like you're going a million and you're really not. Or is it a body position thing? Is it something where, well, yeah, you weren't carrying any speed around that corner. Why, Brian? Well, because I felt like I was going to lose the front end. Well, were you sitting too far back on the seat? Maybe that's why you felt like you were going to lose your front end. So it's not, and that's kind of what I was saying with when I was younger. I don't think I had talent. I don't think I had the right techniques sometimes to go as fast as those guys that I was trying to go as fast as. So, and the same thing applies now. If I don't have the right technique or the same technique as the kid that's going that fast and I just try to go that fast, I'm probably putting myself in danger, right? So how about let's really break it down, not just go faster, because we can always just go faster until we crash. Maybe there's something that we can change that will allow us to go faster and feel more confident and more secure about it, not feel like we're going to die the whole time. and in reality not be in as much danger of having a fall.
One of the things that I've thought about a lot when it comes to this is that I don't know the exact degrees, but let's just say a throttle tube on a handlebar turns 230 degrees, right? It's not a full 360, but it's a 230. That's every bike and that's everybody's wrist, right? And that's what I've always thought about is that, or as I've gotten older in the way that I've approached riding now, is every bike has the opportunity to go the exact same speed. So what is it that I'm doing different with the tool that I'm riding, in this case, the gas this past year, that's making it to where I can't actually leverage the tool the way that other people can leverage the tool? And I know that I think it's helpful to talk about little things in different ways just because it helps people think about things differently. I love what you're saying, but it's just, I don't know. And maybe you're right in the sense that we're the older guys now. We're the guys with experience. And we think about this stuff differently, and we want to try to help the youth because we would have liked to have had this knowledge now. I just don't know how we actually do that, right? You know what I mean? Like, kind of like get into their head enough to where the external pressures and sometimes the internal pressures, we can actually be like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, well, so all right, let's try this. Give me a You can make it up or you can make it a real one. Think back to this past season
Mm.
and give me a problem. Give me a problem that you had and that you would like to fix with, like,
I have a fun one because if anybody goes back and watch the video, you're gonna laugh your butt off. I got tired. We were probably in the 5th test of the Pennsylvania, the Rattlesnake National Enduro, and I was really pissed off because I had just crashed. So I was already like playing in, I was already living up here, and there was a small sapling crossing the trail at a very precarious angle. And I saw it too late because I was living up here and not looking at the trail. Tried to get the front end up. It didn't, and it tucked the front end on me, and I hit the ground, and it's all on video. I just screamed at myself in the middle of the woods with nobody around me because I was so pissed at myself. And it's like, really? Like, this is what you drove across the country for? Is to forget how to pick your front end up enough to ride over a wet, slick sapling in the Pennsylvania woods? So that's a pretty good example, I think.
yeah. So what do you need to fix about that? Being more present and forgetting what has happened, because it doesn't matter anymore. You can't fix that mistake you made by thinking about it. Can you? I mean, I've never undone a mistake by thinking about it more, about getting mad about it. So, and it's way easier said than done, but pull that mental tear off, reset. I would pull a real tear off, or in a lot of cases, well, a national enduro, you can't use tear offs, but when I practiced, I didn't want to burn through tear offs. So when I practiced, I would always, if I made a mistake, so I went through the corner, I dabbed my foot, or I crashed, or whatever, the next chance I had that I would pull an actual tear off, I would just do this. And it got to be where the at my best, that would, in my best years, that would reset me 100%, like it never happened, and I would be back focused on what I needed to do. Just that motion, that visual of my hand going across would reset me, and I was ready to go. But if you don't practice that way, it won't work in the race. So I can't tell you, Brian, hey, next time pull a mental tear off. And you're going to go, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then the next time you get to the race, and even if you remembered to do it, it's not going to do anything because you hadn't practiced doing it. So that's what I mean
Mhm.
by on saying making your practice intentional and making it where you're actually working on this stuff and not just having fun. If I go out there and I do 5 motos this week where every time I made a mistake, even a small mistake, even missing a rut, like taking the wrong line, I pulled that tear off. If you well, if you or anybody watching, go back. I almost know them by heart because I was injured so many times. I was on my spin bike and I was watching videos, all the bar to bars. Bar to bar, I think the first one I have is like 03 all the way up to 12. I was watching back then, it was James Stewart and Ricky Carmichael and Chad Reed at a lot of times. And James and Ricky, theirs was easy to tell. They would always adjust their helmet. All right, but when I first saw it, I'm like, do their helmets not fit? Like, why are they adjusting their helmet? right? But then you pay attention, you go, huh, right after he made that mistake, he adjusts his helmet on the next jump. Or even a lot of times Ricky would do this right after he would pass James, he would adjust his helmet. And that was just a refocus. That was a, hey, I'm done with that, focus forward. And so, and I've never talked to them about it. Just it's pretty obvious that that's what it was. And I started trying to do it when I was practicing, and it when you practice it right and you actually can shut everything off in your brain and you can refocus, which takes sometimes it's more than just pulling a tear off it. There's a lot of Denise Hatch I worked with forever, her and Steve on the breath work and being present and all that stuff. But when you get all that dialed and you pull a mental tear off, it's like that sapling that you had just hit, it never happened. And you won't even think about it until the end of the race. And then you go, yeah, that did
Yeah.
suck. I'm glad I pulled a tear off after that. But you wouldn't have thought about it any time
So
after that.
it's interesting because when I made the Gobbler Getter recaps, that was race number 6, and Gobbler Getter was like, no, that was race number 5, and Gobbler Getter was like race number 8 or 9. That was the last one of the National Enduro Series. The thumbnail says, pull the mental tear off, because I came home from Pennsylvania, and not only did I physically go into the pain cave of like physically training to the point where I was like, okay, obviously I'm too weak. There are some things I need to work on there. And I went back, and that is when I officially started watching every test section that I rode. And I was like, okay, I can ride a little bit better there. I can ride a little bit better there. And I started asking people about different things. And they were like, dude, your suspension is sucks. Like, you have to, like, then for the type of rider, you're just like, okay. So I went and got my suspension done. And I started revisiting some of the things that Steve Hatch and I had talked about, that you and I have talked about. And that's where the pull the mental tear off resurfaced for me. And you can actually hear me say that in the Gobbler Getter footage a couple times. Like, I'm actually like, okay, pull the mental tear off. And I, like, again, I never, and I have roll offs. So I know that, again, that was also a physical aspect of that. But I was literally telling myself that. And I think that that's probably, it could be a dangerous thing to waste energy or waste time or waste thought around the aspect of needing to say it out loud. But it worked in the moment for me. And again, I'm not the top 1% of the top 1%. I'm an old guy racing in the 45A class at the National Enduros, but it worked. And from then on, like, it was just a trajectory of me just amplifying my ability to go faster every race. It was pretty cool. So again, I'm only saying that to hopefully give a little bit of an example of just how much that works. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
self-talk is huge. My first Supercross win, um, in the US, all day long, out loud, I told myself, I can do this. I can win. I can do this. Walking around by myself. I wasn't screaming it, but I was saying it to myself. And during the race, I was saying it to myself. And like self-talk is huge, man, because you can tell yourself good things, you can tell yourself bad things. Like even in your head, you don't some of us will say it out loud, but a lot of times when you fall down or you make a mistake or you get past or whatever, in your head you're thinking, "You idiot. You suck. That you'll never beat that guy."
100%.
Well, how
100%.
do we keep that from happening? Most of the time, you can't just think, "Hey, don't think that." The first thing you're gonna do is think that if you tell yourself not to. So what do? Replace bad thoughts with good ones. So instead of saying, I'm an idiot. I'll never win. I'll never beat that guy. I got to be better in that section next time. Like a positive thing, or even after the race or during the week, um, I'm gonna get there. I will get there. I'm gonna figure this out. Not you'll never figure it out. You suck. Give up. Because if you're not telling yourself good things, you're probably telling yourself bad things.
I think self-talk is really interesting. I've actually kind of a little divergent, as I've actually been like kind of putting a lot, not a lot, some thought to the concept of how to use the mirror differently, because journaling is very important, right? Someone told me it's a great way for us to be able to talk to ourselves, and it's a great way for us to be able to express a lot of thoughts that are going along in our head. And I think it could be very helpful what we're talking about here. But I think the mirror is a great place to start doing what we're talking about, where it's like we can look at ourselves there and we can say those things to ourselves. if we want to just be as goofy as we want to be very specific about riding, like I am a great rider. I know how to go very fast. I am as fast as rider X, Y, and Z. And then just again be honest with ourselves to kind of maybe those curious parts we've been playing with. This is where you're weak, but you're getting stronger and you're doing these kinds of things, whether that's journaling, using the mirror to do those kinds of things, because it builds up a practice of doing exactly what you just said, which is positive affirmation and showing yourself that you actually believe in
Yep.
yourself.
Are you a boxing fan at all?
I'm not, but please enlighten me on why I should be
So
now.
I'm gonna give you some homework. This winter, I
Okay.
want you to watch. The movie is called When We Were Kings, and it's about it's basically a documentary about the Muhammad Ali George Foreman fight in '74 in Zaire in Africa. So Ali had been to prison he was supposed to be in there 5 years. I think he went for 3, and I could be wrong on some of these details, but he went to prison because he said, "I'm not going to the draft. Like, I'm not going to war. Um, this is not my fight." So he goes to prison, he gets out, and by that time, George Foreman is heavyweight champion, and Ali gets a fight against him, and they do it in Africa. But if you watch the thing, and everybody's heard like the Ali quotes, and he was always talking to the other guy and like making fun of him and telling him, "I am the greatest," and all that stuff. But the whole time, and he's even got some quotes where he even says it, like he says, "I'm the greatest. I said that before I knew I was." But the whole time, so you think like this dude's an a-hole. Like all he's doing, he's just talking crap the whole time. He was talking more to himself than he was the other guy. When he said, "I am the greatest," he was telling that to himself more than he was anybody else. And he talked himself into being one of the best. Obviously, he was a great boxer, but that's affirmation, positive affirmation, right? If you tell yourself you're the best all the time, you're probably going to be cocky and big headed, but you're probably going to be better because of it. Now, I'm not saying everybody should run around and say that they're the greatest and all this stuff. You can think it and not have to say it, and it's still going to help you. Like you said, that positive affirmation
Right.
is huge.
So I wrote about the ego, actually. I'm trying to bring it up. And it was the earned ego or the inflated ego, right? And I think that there's a way for us to be able to be confident and or cocky, right? And that's where that balance kind of like plays, because of the fact that if we have an inflated ego, it's not earned, right? And it's something that we want to be seen as by other people. When we actually earn and or have confidence in ourselves and have an earned ego, then that is us actually believing in ourselves. And that to me is what Muhammad Ali was doing. Exactly what you've been talking about is you get to the point where you believe in yourself so much and you're seeing the fruits of your labor come to fruition that you're like, this is it. I know that this is who I am, versus trying to show people to believe in you because you don't believe in yourself enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And everybody's got a different way of doing it. Like some people have to act that way to make themselves feel that way. I think that was part of Ali's thing. But and Steve Hatch will say it, he used to say it to me all the time. There's a big difference in thinking you can and knowing you can. And we can all say we can be the little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can. But until you know you can, it might not happen. But how do you know you can if you've never done it? So there's like what
Yeah,
comes
I
first,
love
the
it.
chicken
I
or the
love it.
egg? But you have to. It's a combination of knowing you've done the work, that you've worked harder than everybody else, that it's been smart work, like you've done the right stuff, and that you're gonna be 100% present and give your best every single time. That's how it becomes a knowing, more than being cocky and talking all kinds of crap, or screaming it from a mountaintop. Some people need that, but yeah, I always try to be quietly confident, like and I could always, a lot of times I could tell at the race or during a season if I was in the right mindset or if I wasn't. Because if I was not quite sure, um, I would be a little bit, what's the word? Like, man, why am I blanking right now? Not confident, but, what's the other word? What's the opposite of confident? No, the
Cocky,
opposite of confident. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that word.
unconfident.
But you could tell, just no matter how much you told yourself, you just didn't know it. You weren't 100% sure of it. So your actions would reflect that, if that makes any sense. Insecure,
Insecure, uncertain,
insecure,
unsure, doubtful, hesitant,
insecure.
timid.
That was it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
Googled
And
that. No, I mean,
that
you're right.
comes from like knowing that, yeah, you probably could have trained a little bit harder this week. Or yeah, and sometimes it is a bike
Mm,
thing. Sometimes it's, yeah, my bike's not the best. I always try to turn that into a positive for me. Well, my bike's not the best and I'm still going to beat these dudes. Like yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna, I'm gonna do this, whatever. So, but yeah, it
I
takes a
love it.
lot of hard work, my mentally and physically to get to where it's a knowing and not just thinking you can.
Love it. Well, I know we've got about 10 more minutes left, and I've got two things because I definitely want to be able to talk about Moto Intelligence and what you're doing there, so I can learn a little bit more and tell everybody else too. But one thing I definitely want to know a little bit about flow state. Like, is that something that you ever felt maybe where you got done and a race, a ride, anything like that, that you were just like, what happened? Like, I don't know where I am.
Yeah, not some of the stories you hear are pretty wild, that, people just, like, don't remember the whole race, but I always knew that I was in the right mindset if somebody would say something like, "Dude, you almost died over there, that one lap when you swapped out," and I'd be like, I don't know. I don't remember what you're talking about because I was so like locked in, even though maybe it was kind of scary. I immediately like got past it and just focused forward. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I've felt
right.
what you're talking about where it feels easy. And it's like, man, I could do this all day. I'm not even tired. Like everything I take my lines are all working perfect and I just go out and win. I've felt that before where it's just easy. I've also won when it didn't feel easy. And I think obviously it's not always going to be easy, but that flow state you're talking about is when it's like you're on autopilot and nothing's hard. Yeah.
Interesting. From people either with yourself or other people that you've talked to, have you kind of like heard any air quotes tips or tricks or things that have actually worked for you to get yourself in a state that could be most willing, I guess, for a flow state? Because I think it's definitely much in the let it happen
Yeah.
category of things,
Yeah,
right?
it's hard to make flow state happen. That's going to be tough, but you can stack the deck in your favor. Um
I love the
uh
way you said that. Yeah, yeah, I've heard that a lot, and that's a
Yeah,
good way to
so
say it.
doing all the work, that's number 1. Like if you know in the back of your mind that you didn't maybe work quite as hard as you should have, that's probably a good or it's probably something that's going to keep that kind of maximum focus from happening because you're always going to kind of know that, yeah, I should have ran that extra mile on Tuesday or whatever it is. But yeah, the breath work is huge that I used to do with Denise with, Power of the Mind. Just getting that what she always said was we breathe enough to stay alive. So we're never, unless we focus on it, we're never supplying our brain and our body with as much oxygen as we could. Really, I mean, literally, your body says you need this much oxygen. That's how much I'm going to give you, and that we never breathe deep. And then when we get anxious or we get nervous or we're thinking about that guy we got to race or this gnarly track, then we start breathing real fast and shallow, and we really don't get any oxygen. So when we take
Mm.
a break and go, all right, for 10 minutes here before I even go up for this race, I'm going to do some breath work. I'm going to really flood my brain and body with oxygen. And all of a sudden, if you do it right and you've done the work and all of that, um, you you'll go in feeling a little anxious and you'll come out feeling like, "Yep, here we go. I'm ready." And there's nothing else to think
That's
about. You don't
awesome.
have to tell yourself anything. You just go, "Yep, I'm ready. Let's go." And now that doesn't mean that you always win when you feel that way, right? I've felt like I was gonna win lots of times and I didn't. I've even felt like I'm not gonna win and I have. But it's much better if we can put ourselves in that state of being, you know, plenty of oxygen to the brain, everything's focused, I'm focused on the right things, and I'm present. I'm not really thinking, I'm just in this moment. Whatever's right in front of me, I'm going to focus on that. Whether that's, the next rhythm section, the next turn, if it's a starting gate, whatever it is, I need to be 100, not 97 or 98 or 99% focused, 100% focused on only that. That's flow state.
Love it, man. You mentioned Denise Hatch, obviously married to Steve Hatch Racing. I noticed that you guys are going to be doing some boot camps coming up. So, what is Moto Intelligence? What kind of boot camps and other kinds of things are you guys putting together? And where is this headed for Mr.
Yeah,
Ryan
so I'm
Seidel?
just coaching full time now. I really enjoy coaching, and I think I'm good at it, man. I think I can explain the way to do a lot of things. Some people can do it but don't know how to teach it, and I think I've got enough experience in the last couple of years coaching that I know how to explain it. And so I'm gonna go for it, man. I'm gonna go full time coaching. Where Steve and Denise and I are doing the winter boot camp in Florida. It's at Croom, and we'll actually travel around to a couple different spots. But it's a month long, all of January, and it's off road based. But I've still invited a ton of moto friends and kids that I used to coach out there because I'm like, guys, it's it's too easy to think, well, if I'm gonna race moto, I only need to practice moto. I think that's incorrect. You can learn a lot riding off road. When you hit that stick and fall down, you're going to learn to not do that, right? You're going to learn to find the traction. Yeah, you're going to learn to find the traction where there's not traction, where learn to weight and unweight your tires, learn the balance and the vision that you have for off road. So anyway, that's my pitch to moto riders. You should come and give us one day at least, and I think it'll make you better. But yeah, all the whole month of January we're doing that. Before that, I've got 3 classes in 2 in South Georgia and 1 in the Panhandle of Florida at MX 191. Those are December 27th, 28th, 29th. And then we do the boot camp. I'm going to do an ISDE training camp the week before the East qualifier, and that's also in South Georgia. It's a 3-day camp. We're going to do it exactly like you will at the race. Obviously, the race is a lot longer, but I'm going to cut 3 tests. We're going to walk the whole thing. We're going to do times. We're going to have transfers and everything. Work on stuff. Work on the skills that it takes to get better at that stuff. And that was one of my specialties. That's where I think I was really good. And that was the most fun that I had was racing that type of stuff. So I'm excited about that one. Almost all the
Yeah.
trophy riders are going to be there too. So I'm stoked on that, normal guys like yourself or whoever that are interested in ISDE can come and watch the pros do it. Like that's always pretty dang cool to see. Like I could tell you how to do it, but you should just watch this guy. Like he's going to show you how to do it. And then the only other one I have planned after that, I'm actually going to do some adventure training. So,
I
yeah,
saw that on the website. I was like,
yeah.
okay,
So,
what are we doing
I've got
here?
this bike. It was a Sportster. It's now the Sipester. So yeah, it's, it's the guy that built it, Chuck Lambert. He gave it that name. But, so it was a Harley Sportster. It's now, way taller, more suspension, knobby tires. Like it's pretty cool. You can actually go off road with it. I've jumped tabletops on it. I've done all kinds of stuff. So that's my adventure riding. I know adventure bikes are a lot more capable of, than that bike. But if I can do it on that bike, then I could probably teach you how to do it on your, $20,000 BMW. So, and I just know a lot of guys in that industry. So we're gonna do the adventure camp down at uh, March Moto Madness, a big rally in Tellico Plains, Tennessee. That's in March, at the end of
Mhm.
March. So, but I'm always working on more stuff. I got
Cool.
a one in the Midwest I'm trying to work on, one up in Maryland. So lots of plans, just haven't announced everything quite yet.
And I noticed the website and some of the videos and stuff like that, like they have locks on them. Is that because those are going to be like a paywalled kind of a thing? So if you become like an online member, you can have access to some of those
Yeah,
kind
it
of videos
just
and everything?
it cost me a lot of money to make those videos, and I think that there's a lot of good info in there. So yeah, we've put a paywall on it where you can pay a monthly membership and you'll have access to all of them. Now there's only 8 on there right now. I've got about 20 more planned, but it could turn into way more. Every time I do one, I'm like, man, I should do one on that because that's its own subject. So yeah, doing a lot of those instructional videos and obviously the bigger group camps, I'm doing one-on-one stuff. So if anybody's interested, always just go on the website and go to the contact page, shoot me an email, and we can talk about it. One thing I'm excited about that I haven't started or haven't really published yet is doing kind of programs like online programs where say Brian Pierce says, I want to race national enduro, this year. What should I do? And so I would be able to go, hey, I want you to ride this day, this day, this day, et cetera. Train, nutrition, mindset. I'm actually getting certified by Denise in Power of the Mind. So I'm going to be able to offer that as well.
Sick. Before I let you go, what's the one thing that you don't think we talk about enough when it comes to racing dirt bikes?
Hmm, that's a great question because we talk about everything. Everybody and their mom has a podcast now, and or has an Instagram page or whatever. Um, to me, though, dirt bikes is number one about fun, and like to me, racing was fun. Even the travel's fun if you know that you're going there to race. Like I don't know, I love it, and I'm so thankful that I can still ride, and even though I don't really race anymore, nothing that means anything, I still wanna get better. When I go out and practice, like, I'm thinking about what I didn't do right at the last one, and I'm trying to figure it out, and, so, I don't know, just to maybe it's the fun. Maybe it's the fun aspect, because I don't think, everybody's so
I
focused
think you're
on now,
right.
like, "What did this guy do in body position and blah, 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 blah." Well, that's great, but don't forget to have a little fun while you're at it.
I think that's a phenomenal way to end this thing. Ryan Sipes, thank you very much for your time. Oh, give us the URL for Moto
Yeah,
Intelligence
it's
so
just
people can go and find that.
motointelligence.com.
I don't have any intelligence, so I wasn't going to try to say that
That's why you need to go
and
to the
get it
website, man.
incorrect. There it is. I get some Moto
Yeah.
Intelligence and some real intelligence. Well, enjoy time with your family over the Christmas. Thank you very much. And we're going to end this one. If you made it this far in this episode, thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe to Seat Time for more videos and for more podcasts wherever you are watching or listening. If you have questions on mindset, make sure you leave those in the comments or anything that you may want to try to conversate. Let's do that in the comments. If you've got guest ideas for future Mindset of the Racer episodes, again, let us know. Enjoy getting seat time, and if we don't get a chance to see you on the trail, we will see you here on the internet. See you for the next one. Peace.